Best of r/malicious compliance episode 86. Subscribe for edit videos daily. TL. Dr. neighbor/Karen takes advantage of our company with outrageous claims, then uses us as a reference. We get our point across with creative wording. Karen continues to use us as a reference and was clueless we protected fellow business owners. Let's call her Karen, just because it fits. She came in and applied for a job, and when I looked at her resume and application, I realized she knew some of my old neighborhood friends and schoolmates. She interviewed well, so I gave her a job. Told her to be in Monday at 9 o'clock a.m. Monday morning, she is not in. She no calls, no shows. Tuesday, no call no show. I had now written her off. Wednesday, she shows up about noon. Claims she was in her basement Sunday night and her brother was working out and he accidentally knocked her out during his intense workout. She claimed her doctor told her she had a concussion and she should stay home for a couple days. She had no doctor's note, no marks on her head, but thinking her story was so off the wall it could almost be true, I let her come to work the next day. She worked Thursday and Friday. We paid at the end of every week and I gave her a check Friday. I also did not deduct the days she missed. She came to me and asked about the full paycheck. I told her we were a family business and realized people had lives outside work. He tried to make sure people knew they were appreciated and tried to take care of our people. She teared up and thanked me and said we could count on her. She worked the full next week, did okay. She seemed to fit in. The third week, she showed up Monday, but Tuesday was another no-show no-call. We did not hear from her for over 2 weeks. When she finally showed up, her story was the stuff of legends. She claimed her husband had forged divorce papers a couple years previous. Thinking she was divorced, she moved back into her parents' house. She claimed her ex-husband was at her parents' house when she got home the last night she worked. He told her he made up the divorce and the paperwork was phony, so they were still married and he wanted to get back together. She claimed she refused and he kidnapped her. She said it took her until a couple days ago to get away from him. She wanted to come into work the next day. She did not call the police and he wasn't arrested. There was nothing in the papers or on the news about any of this. She was not hurt, thank God. She asked if I believed her. I did not, but told her that I really needed someone I could count on coming in reliably every day. I gave her a paycheck for 1 week. She had worked 1 day, and told her I wished her good luck. I had already replaced her, and her replacement was one of the best employees we ever had. Here's the malicious compliance. The next month, I come into a phone message that someone from XXX company called for a reference for Karen. As my secretary is handing me the message, she's laughing at the look on my face. I asked if she was kidding. She said she was not. She said she got a call from a man saying he was the owner of a company in the area and he asked about Karen. Then my secretary asked if she could listen in on the call. She was a pistol. She then goes and gets my partner and tells him I am going to call and give Karen a reference. Now he is in my office laughing too. I call the guy and we make some small talk. I tell him what we do and he tells me what he wants Karen to do for him. I tactfully avoided answering any of his questions about Karen directly. I think he was beginning to suspect something. Remember folks, employers can get in a ton of trouble for bad references. He finally asked my opinion of Karen, and what I said was, if you can get Karen to work for you, you will be very lucky. He heard what I said and how I said it. He repeated that back to me exactly as I said it. All my words were the right ones. It was my tone and intonation that got my point across. He thanked me and hung up. Karen comes into the office a couple days later. She looks mad but is trying to be pleasant. She told me she is having trouble finding a job and mentioned she has used me as a reference. She wanted to know if anyone from XXX company has called me. She knew they did. She told me she really want the job at XXX company. I told her I had been called and that I told the guy he'd lucky to get her to work for him. My secretary confirmed that's what I told him. She told him she was right next during the whole conversation. Karen smiled and thanked me and headed to the door. She said she wondered why she was having so much trouble getting a job. She asked if she could continue to use me for a reference and I told her absolutely. I also told her I'd tell everyone the same thing, that any employer would be lucky if they can get you to work for them. She walked away smiling, happy and clueless. Thank you. Next. I hope this falls within the guidelines of malicious compliance. I get up today to do some regular, non-COVID-19 hoarding shopping, at the Mart of Walls. It wasn't too crowded but the standard TP and Clorox wipes were out of stock and shoppers were looking but the lines were long yet manageable. I get my groceries and proceed to self-checkout, no line and multiple stations available. Cashier says it 20 items or less. My cart has a ballpark of 35 items and I was former cashier so no doubt I could move through quickly but rules are rules so I apologize for not reading the sign and move to a regular line. The cashier there is slow and was not equipped to handle a 5-person line. I move and check out other lines but all seem slow. I then spy an empty cart near self-checkout. I move exactly 20 items into the cart and park it where I can see it. I go through self-checkout and use my large reusable bags for my groceries. I check out then go around and swap to the other cart and go back into self-checkout. The cashier who told me 20 items or less realizes what I've done and glares at me. There are still no people waiting for self-checkout so I wasn't sure why I got her angry eyes but I did all while I checked out my second cart of exactly 20 items. Thank you. Next. This was sometime around 2009 I think. My friend and I took our 8-year-old daughters to a Jonas Brothers concert. This was the type of concert where you could pay lots of money to sit in a seat up by the stage or pay general admission to sit on the lawn as that part of the venue is outdoors. Well, we pay for the general admission tickets, put our blankets down on the middle part of the lawn and take the girls to walk around as the concert hasn't started yet and the opening act is getting ready to perform. Well, about 30 people are at the very front of the lawn area standing to watch the setup. This was an area with a sidewalk in front of the grass as it was a walkway with a little metal fence to get up to the lawn area. So my friend, the girls and I stand at this fence just like everyone else to get a better view before everything started. Well, out of all the people lined up on the fence, I notice someone yelling hey and snapping their fingers telling me to move out of their way. I turn around and there is a lady that is behind me on the lawn but she's at the lower part of the lawn and apparently I'm in her direct viewing sight. Still not sure why she would sit so low to the front. Now if she would have been polite I would have told her we were about to leave and go back to our blanket. But she kept yelling at me, no one else, that I wasn't allowed to stand by this fence. Well, she ends up so loud that a worker in a yellow shirt comes over and asks what's wrong. She proceeds to tell him I can't stand there and I'm in her way. So he ends up moving everyone off of this area that's standing. So I turn to him and say, so where can I stand? He said I have general admission so I can be anywhere on the lawn. I said, anywhere? He saw the smile across my face and gleam in my eye and said, oh yes, anywhere. So I proceeded to back up on the lawn directly in front of the snapping fingers lady and started dancing around with my bottom practically in her face. My friend was dying laughing. The lady was fuming mad. The guy told her I'm allowed to do that because technically I was on the grass. If it wasn't for my daughter confused why I was making a lady so upset I would have done it longer. We left that area laughing so hard. Although it's been years, my friend and I still talk about the fight I almost got into at the Jonas Brothers concert. Thank you. Next. As a teacher I have a soft spot for the malicious compliance of my students. One of my favorites. I was giving my kids the standard lecture on listening and not interrupting. Not out sounding like Charlie Brown's teacher. A few days later I couldn't find my new stapler anywhere. I looked all day. Finally one straight-faced third grader walked up to me. You knocked your stapler in the trash the other day. Why didn't you tell me? It was when you were telling us not to interrupt when you were talking and I didn't want to interrupt you. Well played my friend. Well played. Thank you. Next. I work at doggy daycare with a no noise rule. No barking, no whimpering, no howling, no growling. We don't freak out if a dog does it, but we tell them no, and make them sit down. This is very successful and we largely have a relatively quiet workplace. The reason we do this is to prevent fights. A coworker recently got a puppy who is 4 months old. He is going through the barking at random things phase. Same rules apply. He sternly tell him no and get him to sit down. The other day, this puppy was playing aggressively, albeit quietly, with a few other dogs. The puppy starts doing some rapid barking when the dog he was playing with gets bored and walks away. I get up and go to correct him. Just doing my job, you know. His owner gets upset with me and tells me that they're just playing and to leave him alone. Annoyed, I walk away. Double standard city. My dog always gets shit from other co-workers, including this one, when he barks. About 45 minutes go by and I'm about to finish my shift. I let my dogs out to go potty, standing by the open door so I can watch the dogs still inside, and there is a coon dog outside on the opposite side of the play area I'll let my dogs into. She begins chasing my dogs up and down the fence line. My dog, a husky, is absolutely vibing with this. He loves to play chase. The coon dog starts barking and I think, in my head, to tell her off. Cue malicious compliance. I let it go. They are outside, right? And come on. They're just playing. My dog barks back. The coon dog starts to howl. My dog, again, a husky, in response, howls back. This goes on for about 30 seconds, them howling at each other. Now, remember how I said I was standing by an open door? I hear it start. A husky from inside, older and kind of a do no harm, but take no shit kinda dog gets a burr in her ass and starts to howl in response. The dominoes begin to fall, one after another. Dogs are howling in response to each other. I know this isn't going to cause any issues, so I just watch the chaos ensue. My coworkers are all rushing to get the dogs to stop howling, but there are too many. I can see the clock up on the wall and it says 3:03. I'm not on the clock, not my clowns, not my circus. My dogs finish their business and I'll leash them up and start walking them out to my car. As I get in my car and drive away, I hear the howls continue. Some say they're still howling to this day. Update. Currently at work. 3 days later. All's quiet on the Western Front unfortunately, although manager did pull me aside and ask if I was doing alright. Told him I was starting to get annoyed with double standards. He said he'd look into it. Hopeful, but not expecting much. Thank you. Next. At a local high school, there is not smoking on school grounds, so the students dash across the street to have a smoke or hang out. The school cops started giving out jaywalking tickets to the kids who didn't cross at the crosswalk. To get over there, one night, some of the kids painted, properly spaced and straight lines, a crosswalk in the middle of the block, to get over to the smoke pit. Thank you. Next. I work at a theater. When a play has its premiere there are always a bunch of people including journalists, sponsors and a lot of bougie elitists who believe they own the place. So this story takes place during one of these premieres. Me and two other girls are working at the counter, selling drinks and doing the catering stuff. We are all pretty young, in our mid-20s, and that's why some visitors think we are pushovers and they can just make us bend certain rules for them. Shortly before the beginning of the play this encounter ensues. Rabbi is my co-worker and Karen is obviously the bitch here. Sorry to all the nice Karens out there. Karen, hi, I would like to order a glass of this red wine, it's the most expensive item on our menu. Rabbi, sorry, I can't sell you anything right now. The play starts in 3 minutes and you are not allowed to take drinks into the theater. But I could give you a glass of water for free. In Germany you normally have to pay for water so this was a pretty nice offer. Karen, no, I want the wine. Rabbi, are you sure you want a down 0.2 liter of it in? Looks at the clock. 2 minutes? I mean I can give it to you right after the play, when we also open the buffet. Karen, I want white wine with the food so give me the red one now. That you even have the guts to argue with me about this. How dare you? Do you even know who I am? I pretty much own this place, so I also pretty much own you and you should be grateful for your job, little girl. If you misbehave like this I'll let Alex, our boss, know. Blah blah blah. Rabbi, who actually already quit because she is moving and this is her last shift. Okay, sure, your wish is my command. She pours her the glass of wine and takes the money and Karen walks away with a big smirk on her face. 1 second after that our shift manager comes and we open the door to the theater room and check the tickets to let people in. When it is Karen's turn to go in, she tries to sneak by Rabbi and me with the full glass of wine. Rabbi stops her, gives her her best customer service smile and says, sorry, drinks are not allowed in here and triumphantly takes the glass and walks away. Karen looks really pissed and I just stand there and try not to laugh too much. I know this was just a small little victory, but if you are a server and you always have to be like super nice no matter how people treat you, it feels really good to get the chance to give back sometimes. BTW, sorry for any spelling mistakes or for my writing in general. I am on mobile and English isn't my first language.